Obi-Wan is the first Jedi that we ever really get to see, because Luke isn't a Jedi yet when we first meet him, and he's just some little weirdo in a bucket hat looking at the sun. So and then he turns out to be the coolest dude.
Incoming transmission from an unknown source. It seems to be urgent. Patching them through. They're calling themselves the HoloNet Marauders.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the HoloNet Marauders podcast.
Why are you giggling?
Matt derailed us prior to going live here,
mess.
so
Absolute disaster.
but it's all good.
I thought that little intro would have been enough time to pull ourselves together, but no.
No, not yet.
No,
and I was so
none.
thrown I didn't even grab a prop this time. But
Yeah,
I don't have anything new nearby, anyways.
It's always a roulette whether or not you guys are going to come out of it with a prop or not, and I always feel like I should have one at the ready.
There's always lots of stuff around. Put that blaster away.
DH-17 Imperial
Yep.
Blaster, Rebel Blaster, whatever. It's whatever you want it to
Both?
be. So I'm joined here, as always, with my bombad Jedi pals of Jamie and Matt. Jamie and Dungworm, actually. Matt's name's still Dungworm.
I'm still Dungworm. I'm never going back.
And the reason I call you guys Bombad Jedi is because Bombad means great, I guess, in
Yeah.
Jar Jar language. Is it a Gungan thing or is it just Jar Jar?
Isabama.
No,
It's a Gungan
It's a
thing.
Gungan thing. But the meaning of the word, because I think they say bad at some point. They use it to say bad at
They
some
didn't.
point.
It was an accident.
It was an accident because it's supposed to be good.
And I call you guys Jedi because Jamie's wearing her Jedi beanie and Matt is, you're both diehard Jedi.
I got Return of the
fans.
Jedi in the bag because I
There you
forgot
go.
to change it.
Jedi
Yeah.
beanie, Return of the Jedi. It's all there. You
Yep.
guys
It's all coming together.
are two massive fans of Jedi, and I'm just kind of like here. We always think of me as a Sith. I'm not really actually bad though, so I don't think I could be a Sith. I would be a Jedi at the end of the day, but maybe I think they're lame sometimes. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Possibly.
Are you talking or is Kylo Ren talking behind you?
It's blue back there today. I used to have the green background for Book of Boba. I made it blue. Very fitting for Ben Solo behind me, Kylo Ren behind me, Jedi talk, all that stuff. But let us get to our wheel spin. We'll go to the Guardian of the Wheels.
Ooh,
Jamie.
that's so good. I love it. I love it. 100%. That is great.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Guardian of the Wheels.
Pretty good.
The Wheel of the Force.
Yep, that's also good.
The alternate
Alright.
title for episode 9.
God.
All right, what are we going to get here today?
I don't know.
Chrysanthemum spun this thing last week. I think the Rancor
He
spun
did.
it this week. Not bad.
Overrated.
Overrated creature. I was hoping it was going to land on
hell?
something Jedi-like, or like a
Nope.
good Jedi question.
You're getting an overrated creature.
Overrated creature is an animal, right?
Ben Solo. I'm just kidding. I love Ben Solo, so he's not overrated in my mind. Overrated creature. Who wants to go first?
This is a very hot take. A very hot take. I think that an overrated creature, I think that Lothcats are a little overrated.
Wow.
This is only because I don't really like cats in real life because I'm allergic to them. But otherwise, they're adorable and I love them. But I do think that's a hot take. They're overrated.
Okay.
They also don't hold the candle to porgs because like porgs are the best and they're always pitted against each other, Lothcat or porg. And I'm like, come on, can't do this.
I'm trying to think of a good one. I'm trying to think of a hot take.
Hot
Matt, what do you got? Do you got one ready?
take.
Nothing's gonna top my hot take. So
This thing.
what is that?
You
don't know.
always
I love it though. I gotta look up what he is or what
The
she
skunk
is.
man.
I think it's a
Audio
she.
people don't know what this is, Matt. What is this?
It's a big old skunk lady with big tusks and big lower tusks.
How is it overrated if no one
no, I'm
knows
kidding.
what it
I'm
is
kidding.
but you?
That's not it. That's not it.
he was stalling.
I would say yes. I was. I would say Gorgs.
Gorgs. I don't think Gorgs are rated enough.
I think
People don't know about the Gorgs in
Wicked
Resistance.
underrated.
It's like the
People
best
are
part.
always talking about Gorgs. I don't like Gorgs. They bite. They're too bitey. They're not affectionate.
Shout out to our pal Garrick on Twitter who loves Gorgs and
I'm so
every
sorry,
day
Garrick.
tweets out like a funny Gorg thing. Yeah,
I'm
it's
so
been
sorry,
Bond
Garrick.
titles recently, like
You only gorg
Gorg
once.
finger. You only Gorg once.
Gorg finger.
Gorg
That's
fall.
Gorg finger.
that's accurate because it'll bite your fingers off at any given moment. It has no
Gorg
loyalty,
fall.
no love, just bites.
We love gorgs.
No, I don't love
Only
gorgs.
gorgs.
Nope. No.
Overrated creature. I love all the creatures though. I'm trying to think of one I like, but it gets too much love.
AJ, I know you down in your heart you want to say porgs.
Well, I think porgs.
Porgs and gorgs.
That would be a
Porgs
really
are-
hot take from you, but
I don't think porgs are overrated. I think maybe at one point they were, but they don't get talked about that much anymore.
Yeah, except by me.
Maybe they do.
They're one of the like hottest merchandising
Banthas.
items from. Wow.
Oh, that's
But
a hot take.
But like I said, I love banthas, so it is a hot take.
Hotter than the
Is there a better
Tatooine
one?
Suns.
No, I'm gonna go blurg.
Blurg.
Ooh,
Blurg. That's overrated.
that's a really hot take. Wow.
Rancors? No, I love rancors.
All this being said, we love all of these creatures.
Yes.
As usual, I just named like 4 things. The game was rigged from the start.
I hadn't thought of blurgs in forever.
I love blurgs. We almost bought a new blurg yesterday, so we actually got new plushies the other day. There's the new like little like creature stall Galaxy's Edge line that they have at like Target and whatnot. So we got a Rancor and another porg.
Underrated creature
great.
would be good. I would say
Underrated
Puffer
creature?
Pig.
Oh, we're going with underrated animals now too.
I could do underrated a lot easier than overrated.
Okay.
Underrated Puffer
Underrated creature. Underrated creature. Puffer pig. Love the puffer pig. My favorite still in all of Rebels is Kanan and Zeb in the pilot seat and the co-pilot seat of the Ghost, and the puffer pig's just inflated behind.
That is.
Pig. The best
What an
toy they
episode.
sell at Galaxy's Edge too.
Oh, 100%. It's on the
Yes!
other side of the room. I can't get it. Oh, this sucks.
I'd say an
disappointed.
underrated creature as well is the little crystal critters from the Last Jedi, the Vulptexes,
There
because
you
like
go.
they're in that
I got
scene and
that
that
one over
scene
there.
only, but they're so cute and they jingle when they walk and they're just adorable.
I guess for
I'm
mine,
gonna say Blurg.
You already went.
You already went, dude.
You also said that was overrated.
Exactly.
We're going for underrated.
I'm gonna go with Lugga Beast.
Oh,
I
Oh,
love the look of the Lugga
that's
Beast.
good.
What about the Happabore?
That's really
Hap-
good.
Happabore was my first answer, and then I thought Lugga Beast, and was like, I'm going with Lugga Beast, but Happabores,
Happabore is great too.
beautiful
Every
boys.
creature on Jakku.
Yeah,
Underrated.
every creature on Jakku, pretty much. That whatever that vulture thing is.
The steel vulture. You should do a
Every
creature video,
animal
Matt.
in what's his name's little zoo that he has.
Yeah, Baba Joe.
Baba
Oh, can I go
Joe's
back to
zoo.
overrated?
Sure.
Rathtar.
I don't think anyone talks about Rathars,
Matt
AJ,
doesn't
so
like
I don't.
the Rathars.
I don't like the Rathars. They don't feel very Star Warsy to me. I don't know.
I was just kidding. I was saying that to get Matt going.
Though I can see why you'd say they're overrated because they not only appear in the sequels, but they're a big item in the High Republic too. So
I love seeing them show up.
Yeah.
In High
I mean, it was
Republic and
cool.
Fallen
It was
Star,
cool to have
so.
the sequel connection in the High Republic as well. And if I'm being honest, when I was playing Star Wars Uprising, I had a gang called the Raftars. I ran a gang called the Raftars, which was cool.
That's pretty good.
But yeah, they're just
Okay.
a blob of eyes and tentacles.
I like how we took the question and turned it into another question.
A better question.
I feel like I didn't do a good job myself answering the first question, so I wanted to keep it going.
No, you
And
didn't. You tried to redeem yourself over there.
Overrated's
Mr. Ben
hard.
Solo.
Underrated's a lot easier.
Okay, so next time I have an overrated question or underrated, we're gonna do both.
Yeah, why not?
Just so
Maybe
that's-
Colo
just so you know.
Clawfish. Can I change it back to Choco?
I've never seen one alive.
Overrated, dude. Everybody's eating his eggs. This dude's got
Tasty.
nothing. This guy's nothing.
All right.
But
So
speaking
we're
of-
actually here today to talk about the Jedi. So I don't really know if AJ was clear about that in the intro because we kind of got derailed very quickly somehow. But this is actually a Jedi talk episode. We're gonna talk about Jedi and all things about it.
All right.
AJ, take over. What do you got about this?
So, before I said you guys are like two of my favorite people to talk to about Jedi, and obviously two of my favorite people to talk about Star Wars with because we have a podcast together. So,
Thank you.
it's a compliment, but it was also obvious, I hope. But
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you guys, why do you love the Jedi? Like, what draws you to them? Is it just because they're simply the good guys? What? And I expect like Matt is going to be like something deep like or something really serious, and then Jamie, on the other hand, is going to be like something goofy or world building ish. And when I thought of this, I was thinking of like the High Republic because that's super Jedi heavy. It's all Jedi, and Matt's kind of like the Charles Soule, Cavan Scott. Jamie's like the Daniel Jose Older or Justina Ireland, I feel. So it's like That's the vibe we
Okay,
got going.
all right.
You
Okay.
like that?
I like the vibe.
I'll take that.
I like the vibe.
That's a compliment, obviously.
So your first question to kick this off is why do we like the Jedi?
Yeah. Not just like though. Like you guys are like, I mean, most people are. I mean, Jedi are the most popular thing in Star Wars, which is why
Well,
we have
I'll be
a.
honest.
No question.
When AJ briefed me on this episode, he's like, yeah, so we're gonna be like, answer why do you love the Jedi? And I just kind of like looked at him for a moment. Meanwhile, I'm like decked out in like some form of like Jedi gear, like this. Like I had like a Rey shirt on when he like told me, and I had the Jedi beanie on. I'm like twirling
No, you
like
have
a
an
little
Ahsoka
like
shirt
lightsaber. Yeah, the Ahsoka shirt right now, and I'm just like, why do I like the Jedi? It's the kind of thing when someone
question.
asks you point blank why you like something, you just like don't know how to respond. It's more like I can't explain it. I feel like when it comes to like the Jedi, that's quintessential Star Wars. They're present across everything, and even if it's some story like about bounty hunters, it's gonna get involved.
Yeah, as we've seen.
Yeah. Although the way that happened probably didn't need to happen, but whatever. With Jedi though, like you know that it's Star Wars at that point in time. So like you guys know my backstory. Listeners know this backstory of me and Star Wars. Like I wasn't like a Star Wars like kid. Like my older brother and older sister like watched them, but they didn't like sit me down and be like, you gotta like watch this like right now. That we didn't do that.
No, AJ did
but like
that.
I like knew of like Star Wars and knew of like Jedi like growing up and whatnot. And like I knew who Yoda was, and like I knew who Darth Vader was. Obviously not a Jedi, but like whatever.
Puppet Yoda?
But, like, I'm
say it
not
was
saying
Puppet
I
Yoda.
like watched it when I was little, but like I knew of like Yoda. Yeah, it looks something like that.
There we go.
And so like the biggest thing is like you know what Star Wars is, and you know what Jedi are going into Star Wars. You're rarely going to find someone who like you automatically know what they are and know what they're about. And I think that because it's so simple, that's just what like draws me to them, to love them so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, the iconic nature. I'll go with iconic nature. There's got to be a word like iconoclasty or something like that for, like when you call something iconic, that's like an
Iconic?
adjective. No, but their iconic nature is the reason that the Jedi are Star Wars. Jedi has entered into popular lexicon. People around the world just know the name Jedi. They know what a Jedi is. They know the traits associated with the Jedi. For crying out loud, Jediism has been, on the census data for religions in
Right.
like United States, United Kingdom, like all over the world. People call themselves Jedi, mostly as a joke. But the Jedi, I mean, why I like them is because they're like the holy warriors. Every culture has like this like spiritual magical warrior person, group that they're special, they're better quote unquote.
Ooh.
But
I smell a Sith.
better
That's
is
not
a
what you're
weird
smelling,
way to
Mr.
put it.
Dungworm.
They're more skilled is what I'm saying. Their skills come easier to these people because they're in tune with nature and the world around them. And it, like I said, every culture has some form of that. And I think the Jedi, first of all, it's cool because like the Jedi's magic is 100% real. We can look at it like right in front of us. These guys are straight up just wizards, lifting stuff, pushing stuff, pulling stuff. All the Jedi things. They got cool glowing swords. That's another reason the Jedi are really cool.
Oh yeah.
The lightsaber is probably like the coolest weapon ever put to screen, like coolest in fake invention I can think of. And how it took us, thousands and thousands of years to come up with laser swords is beyond me. But George Lucas struck gold.
I love when they call them laser swords, like
I do too.
in the material. I think because like that's what just normal people would call them. I think. I don't know.
No,
They wouldn't say,
exactly.
lightsaber. Yeah. No, I mean it's all good points. And Jamie, I know like Clone Wars is probably what really got you into liking the Jedi so much, which is funny because they're at war. They're in the Clone Wars. They're literally warriors with armor, which is probably what the Jedi shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But I think it's for you. It's like the camaraderie. We see them all
Yeah.
together. Clone Wars is we see it in the prequels and a little bit, but in the Clone Wars, you see the camaraderie between them and the clones. And even just like, I don't know, the way I see it is Matt just said all the serious things about religion and stuff, but what you like, Jamie, is like the relatable things that the Jedi do.
Yeah.
Like going to Dex's Diner, going to do these, I don't know. Am I right on that?
Yeah, I'd say that Matt is. I would say that Matt has the analytical approach here, and meanwhile, I'm over here saying, "Oh, lightsaber, go burr."
Or like when our good friend Ryan came over, who I seem to reference every episode. We had the running gag of like, what was it? In the Jedi Temple, do you think?
So do you think? Yeah. So so this is Matt, I'm not sure if you know this, but when Ryan and Becca came to visit us, for some reason I feel the need to just like ask every single stupid headcanon that comes into my head about the Jedi to Ryan.
Okay.
Because he usually like will fire back some other like inane like answer to me, and I'm like, all right, cool. So like every like 10 minutes I'm just like, so do you think that the meals at the Jedi Temple are actually like prepared for every single person individually, or what do you think's going on with that? And then he'd like launch into it for like some like deep like answer. But anyway, it would always be something like Jedi related. I think that it's just like I love the Jedi as well because of so much we don't know about them. This is like my favorite like thing in Star Wars. Like I've always said that like my favorite era of Star Wars is the post-Order 66 one. So all the Jedi are technically dead, but we don't know anything about like that era, but we're actually like getting so much content about it this year.
Well,
I'm so excited.
You know, it's funny you say that because my favorite era in Star Wars is the New Republic / Cold War era where all the Jedi are dead.
All the Jedi are dead and there's no content.
Yeah.
But like it's because there's just so much unknown, and like it just really makes you like want to like know more about it and like research more about it. And so like it's funny that you like mentioned the Clone Wars, AJ, because like when I got really into Star Wars, it was because of the sequel trilogy, and we only had like the one brush with the Jedi. So we had like Rey learning that she was Force sensitive and whatnot, and like very little bit hints at Finn. But like that wasn't like, oh, this is a movie about a Jedi. It was more just like a movie about someone finding themselves. And so like from there we really like dove into the Clone Wars, and so like Clone Wars is like what like gave me like that deeper insight of like this is how the Jedi like actually like talk with one another. Aside from the prequels, it's just like Anakin and Obi-Wan, and then sometimes Mace Windu and Yoda. But like in the Clone Wars, you have so many Jedi actually interacting with each other and seeing them, albeit they are like the same like 10 or so people. But it really tries to give you like the bigger picture of like there are, yes, these like thousands upon thousands of Jedi Knights across the galaxy actually working together. Plus we get the clones. And then they kill everyone. But that's and
then that launches your favorite era of the Jedi.
And then that launches my favorite era of the Jedi when they're all dead. No.
But it's cool. And as you were explaining, like, you know, as you always have, getting into it with the sequels and relating to Rey so much, it makes sense because watching these movies, you pretty much are Rey. Like, she's learning about the history of Star Wars and the Jedi and everything, and you're right there with her. We're all right there with her, learning the past as well. So it's pretty cool. I mean, that's how we relate with these characters. I mean, the same thing happens to Luke in the originals, and he learns about a little bit of the Clone Wars with like a short mentioning of Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess from there, let's talk about the history of the Jedi as it's given to us in these films, as it's, you know, as it was meant to be given to us, starting with the original trilogy. We meet Luke, and we meet Obi-Wan, who was the first Jedi we meet technically, and then he brings Luke with him. But Matt, I guess
he just brings this kid with him,
which is hilarious. But Matt, we'll go back to you, and like, what is with the original trilogy? What do you think the meaning of the Jedi is in the original trilogy? Because I feel like as we'll get through all the eras of Jedi, they're all different. Like the Jedi feel different in all of them. I mean, one, because there's thousands of them in the prequels, and then there's like 2 of them in the originals. But like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, Obi-Wan clearly serves as like the Merlin of the story, right? He's like the magical space wizard.
Kenobi's beard.
Which is funny. Yeah, really. Which is funny because, you know, when you think of Merlin, you don't really think that Merlin was once like this big warrior monk who fought in this big war with a laser sword and, you know, went crazy like that. Because, I mean, that's clearly not what he did. So back in the day, people had a much different view of who the Jedi were from the original trilogy than they did when the prequels came out. A lot of people didn't think there was even like a Jedi order, quote unquote. They thought they served more like samurai, who were, these incredibly skilled warriors who you could hire, to protect you or, take care of business, that kind of just like roamed around the countryside and served people who paid them. And, so in the original trilogy, thinking about the Jedi, a lot of people associated the Jedi with more of just this, almost like this wandering warrior trope. And, Obi-Wan was just somebody probably who got paid to fight in the Clone Wars. It wasn't, or, to protect the Republic, obviously. But the Republic paid Obi-Wan to protect the Republic kind of deal. So the Jedi, in that sense, obviously we have Obi-Wan and then Yoda. So we only really have two glimpses of the Jedi of old. And then you have Darth Vader, who, at the time just betrayed the Jedi. He didn't, there wasn't an Order 66. There wasn't this one singular event where all the Jedi go extinct, or and the temple is burned and everybody forgets about the Jedi. It was more seen as more like a gradual thing where Anakin betrayed them and helped the Empire just, hunt them down over the course of many, many years until there were no more. And that would be obviously a lot easier if there was no order. If it was just, warrior monks, solitude, people, who train other people. But again, there's no hierarchical system. There's no council. There's no, large-scale temples staffed by Jedi and all these decrees and orders and laws that they have to follow. It was a much different picture. And I sometimes prefer that picture. Looking back at it,
simpler times,
a simpler idea of the Jedi.
No, I mean, it is cool. And it's interesting to think of, because the three of us we never got to think of it in hindsight like that, because we've always had all the material to back it up.
Yeah, it's wild just like hearing like that, honestly, because like I never just really like considered it that way.
It fits though, like the wandering warrior, or however Matt put it, like that. Yeah, that is Obi-Wan in A New Hope. So it's interesting.
Exactly.
What were you going to say, Jamie?
That what I just said. It's just wild to hear it that way. Because you think of the original trilogy, and Obi-Wan is the first Jedi that we ever really get to see. Because Luke isn't a Jedi yet when we first meet him, and he's just some little weirdo in a bucket hat looking at the sun. So and then he turns out to be the coolest dude. But it takes a little bit for him to get there, and I think that having Obi-Wan be the representation of the Jedi that we ever see for the first time is absolutely perfect, because he is someone who has had a successful life, but also has failed in like every single way possible. And when you have the full picture as well, and we're going to get more of that full picture, which is absolutely wild. I keep forgetting that's going to happen. It's perfect. And I am very glad that Obi-Wan is the first Jedi that we ever meet because of that.
Yeah. I mean, Obi-Wan really is, like, obviously he's a fan favorite, but he really is like the perfect Jedi. I always think he is.
He's the quintessential Jedi.
Yeah.
And obviously he's not perfect.
He's been through so much crap. I was going to say suffering, but that's a Sith thing. So he has been through suffering, but he hasn't suffered. But he's overcome it.
Yeah. And so the whole point is he's overcome it and he's learned from it because he's a Jedi. He learns how to keep going.
He's such a chill guy.
That's exactly it. Some of my favorite Obi-Wan moments of all time are the times when he just exhibits the most like steadfast patience imaginable. Oh yeah. We see Obi-Wan kind of lash out at Anakin a couple of times in Attack of the Clones, because again, this guy doesn't really know what he's doing.
Still young.
That's when he's still young. Himself out.
He's thrust with this kid, and he's like, I don't know what he's doing. This kid's a bratty little snot-nosed punk. What the hell am I supposed to do with this kid? But like Obi-Wan versus Maul in Rebels is probably like peak Jedi for me, because not only does he stay calm and patient throughout the entire thing, he's like this old man, and you have the classic samurai showdown between him and Maul, but Maul did so much to him. took away his master, took away the love of his life, who he would
Yeah.
have left the order for, and for him to then strike Maul down in self-defense and then show like the most compassion you possibly could for the dude, holding him while he dies and giving him information that he's asking for and like talking to him while he dies. I mean, that's what the Jedi to me are. They're like the calm, compassionate, and non-violent. I mean, they're not pacifists. I know a lot of people say that the Jedi are pacifists, and that turns a lot of heads in the fandom because they're not. They'll George once described them as the marshals of the Old West, where they'd walk into a saloon. Yeah, I know, Marshal of the Old West. But this is how he described them. The kind of guy who will sit down for negotiations, but will leave his gun on the table to tell you, like, look, we're going to do this calmly and without violence. But if you try something, I'm going to shoot you. It's not like a thing where it's like, oh, you got me. It's like, no, I'm ready to use violence if you try something. But the Jedi are non-violent. That's like the last resort. It's not the first resort. You don't threaten anybody with violence. You're not getting your way with violence. It's just something that needs to be done from time to time.
Yeah, and I mean that's
an ideal to live to, right? That's an ideal to strive for. It's something that I wish I could do, but
No, I mean every now and then you talked about earlier that like people think of being a Jedi as like a religion. I mean, sometimes I think like, what would a Jedi do in this situation? Or we think of our film heroes of Obi-Wan or Qui-Gon or whoever, and we're like, okay. I mean, that calms me down. I don't know if you guys do that.
Oh, absolutely. I think about Qui-Gon all the time, especially the one where he's like, there's no use in arguing with him because he's not going to change his mind. I think about that all the time, and I don't follow his advice at all.
At least you try. He'd be happy. But to continue with the violence thing, it's evident at the end of the original trilogy when, he had no choice but to fight Vader. He kicks Luke kicks Vader's ass, and then the Emperor like confronts them, and he just throws the saber down. I mean, that's probably the most powerful moment in that whole finale of the original trilogy, Return of the Jedi, just throwing the saber down. And I think about him throwing that saber, and then in the sequels, ultimately he throws the saber for another reason, but it's kind of cool parallel there.
See, I think of the parallel not with him throwing the saber in The Last Jedi, but the way he confronts Kylo at the end of The Last Jedi. That is a parallel to his win. Him winning through non-violence in Return of the Jedi is him kind of passing the threshold, right? He's able to let go. He's able to, let go of his attachment to his sister and his father and everybody. He's willing to just die rather than strike somebody down in anger. And it's the same thing in The Last Jedi. He's willing to let go, and he wins the day again through non-violence.
Literally lets go.
Yeah. Luke, that's the most iconic Luke moment to me. And Luke being portrayed as non-violent again in The Last Jedi and winning in such a cool way. Oh, I mean that.
Yeah, I mean,
I could go on and on about that.
There's parallels
like
to
my favorite
that,
Star Wars moment.
to what Kanan does, which we'll get to, and we'll all cry a bit as we always do. But yeah, I mean, when he throws that saber, I wonder where it goes on the Death Star.
He picks it. He finds it.
He finds it. I know, but like,
where the hell
what a risky move.
It was an absolutely risky move. He's on like a catwalk over like a giant reactor, and he's like, yoink. I don't know where that's gonna go, but I guess I'll find it later. And he does.
And he did. As the place is blowing up, he finds it, picks his dad up, and
now
gets
that's
the
a
heck
scene I
out of
want
there.
to see.
Yeah, nobody bothering to help the entire
Vader's
way.
lying on the ground, just like dying, and Luke's like, "Hold on a second," and like it's digging through rubble to like find his lightsaber.
Seinfeld, Elaine gets the Juji fruit before she goes to see the boyfriend.
Yeah.
You stop for Juji fruits.
But I mean, I guess we can transition to the prequel Jedi, unless you guys have anything else to say on, pretty much just Luke and Yoda and. I mean, Matt, you got to talk about Yoda in Empire.
Well,
like
Yoda, this version of Yoda right here is my favorite. First of all, my favorite Yoda, but his teachings in Empire Strikes Back are some of my favorite Star Wars moments of all time as well. And the stuff he says is absolutely legendary. Well, his luminous beings speech to Luke, I mean, it shows just how much he's changed, I think, from the prequel era. You know, Yoda goes through a significant amount of growth from the guy who's fighting a war, even though he was forced into it, to being somebody who does not consider warriors to be great people, you know, and well, let's see, how do I put this?
I think that that's something really important when you have the broader scope of the full story of like the Skywalker movies with the Jedi, is that all of the Jedi continue to learn their entire life, and that's something that that's one of the biggest pieces of advice anyone can actually like take and put into action. Is you will always be learning. You're never going to not be learning.
Exactly.
And seeing this in action with all of the Jedi, even if like prequel time, like they're like not, but the ones that survive and keep moving forward are the ones that continue to still learn and end up growing.
That's the perfect way to put it. That's exactly what I was trying to like form into words. You got it.
And that's so relatable, because as a kid growing up, you're told like, oh, you'll always learn like all, you know, this stuff, and you're just like, yeah, whatever, old person, like leave me alone. And now I'm like, I wish I listened to them. I mean, that's everyone feels that, so it's so relatable with the Jedi.
I mean, and that's again paid off in The Last Jedi when Yoda pops up and is continuing to teach Luke. Luke is continuing to learn, and Yoda's continuing to learn, even as a ghost, for crying out loud. I mean, it's just the best.
Learning how to set things on fire.
That's right.
Yeah.
Actual stuff, but
don't mess with Ghost Yoda. He'll.
I hope we're all learning stuff as ghosts one day. I mean that.
Please.
That's one day.
That
a long time.
That was deep. All right.
I hope we're all learning stuff as ghosts.
As ghosts. Force ghosts, of course.
Learn how to walk through walls, maybe.
Let's pivot to
little astral projections.
Not to like float through the ground. That's got to be tough.
Let's pivot to a different time. And I was just thinking of this when you were talking about putting the gun on the table, Matt, and then, you know, only using it if you have to, if you're forced to. And we go to episode 1. We're in the prequels now. And Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon go to the Trade Federation ship to negotiate. The negotiations
were short.
The negotiations were short, and they don't actually put their lightsabers on the table, but they're there sitting at that nice table. The droids serving them, they're drinking whatever, and then the toxic gas comes out, as
and
we know.
Immediately whip them out.
Yeah, they whip them out.
It might as well have been them putting them on the table.
Guys, they are though in theory the lightsabers in the situation, or the gun in the situation, because the Republic sent them as negotiators.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
true. Almost like a threat.
The Trade Federation noticed they were Jedi, and they're like, hell no, we're not even going to talk to them. So it's the equivalent of the Marshal sits down at the table across from you and puts his gun on the table, and the guy just got up and left.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's that's a good point. I mean, that's exactly how the Jedi are. And, you know, I think, you know, by this time, Palpatine has already started to corrupt the Jedi slightly.
Slightly? Just slightly?
Well, I mean, he hasn't done he hasn't gone like full blown Chancellor stuff yet. I mean, he's still in the shadows. He's got
his foot in the door.
Yes, he's still in plain sight and all that. But I think, I mean, I never thought of this until just now. But the way I'm seeing it now is like that moment on the Trade Federation ship is probably like the last gasp of the great Jedi. You know, the fact that they could just show up. And immediately everybody's in a frenzy panic going, oh my God, the Jedi are here. What the hell are we going to do? You know, we can't go through with this anymore. That's the kind of clout the Jedi carry. And that's what makes them so great.
And it's cool, like having read the High Republic stuff now, and that's 200 years-ish before this. Like that's very High Republic Jedi-ish, like showing up to negotiate like that. But yeah, and then all hell breaks loose by the time we get to episode 2. But like, what do we know exactly what led the Jedi to like get so political and like have their main temple be on Coruscant?
Well, we don't necessarily know.
Don't think
yet.
Other than the fact that Coruscant was like a hub.
Yeah.
And you know the Jedi were to build a temple there, and the main government would be stationed there. It was kind of like a happy coincidence.
On top of the Sith temple.
Maybe Plagueis or Palpatine had that in mind. Maybe they planned that.
They didn't build the temple.
The temple is
on
thousands
Coruscant
of years old.
like in the High Republic.
That's
so like
true. It goes
pretty
back.
much like
whenever
Coruscant became like pretty much the capital of this galaxy.
Right, it's in High Republic.
That's when it must have happened. Weird question, AJ. We don't have an answer to that one.
No, I mean we don't yet. We know they founded the Order on Octo.
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure Jeddah is named after the Jedi, not the other way around. And then they end up however they end up on Coruscant. They eventually end up there. We don't know in canon.
It's
Not
just
to,
once
like-
they
Covered that.
once they
Not-
become so political and biased is like when their ultimate downfall starts.
Well,
So
not to like dive into the High Republic so early, but that kind of starts in the High Republic is they start working together very closely, like
Yeah.
with the Republic and with the Senate.
Yeah.
But like we'll get into that because we're in prequel time right now, and the Jedi get unknowingly enlisted into the war, which I have a lot of questions about. Like I wanna I wanna know. This is so. Do you think that there is a Jedi command assimilation process in place that just gets activated? So do all of the clones know, like while they're getting trained, that the Jedi are going to one day lead them, or are they just like, all right, we're gonna go and do our thing, and then when they arrive on Geonosis and these Jedi are like, yeah, I'm gonna lead this battalion, the clones are like, who
Whoa.
the
they
Dude
all
with the
who are
glowy
you?
sword.
they
This
all
little
mesh
guy's
so
talking to
quickly.
me backwards. What the hell's
like-
going on?
It's so many questions. Like I gotta think that like the clones were like told, hey, the Jedi are going to lead you one day. So just
Well, that's
just
one of the
heads up.
messiest parts of Star Wars, Episode 2 and Sifo Dyas and the clones and the
God,
Jedi. Like that
lot of
is
questions.
I'm just thinking of Yoda in the ship. Around the survivors, a perimeter create, and like two clones in the back going, "What the hell did he just say? What the hell is going on?"
like just in the back of the gunship, just like
It just turn into like. Did you just hear him? What did he say to do?
grabs him back to Soldier.
And you know,
like I just think about it so much. There's just so this is another reason why I love the Jedi so much is because there are so many plot holes in Attack of the Clones that I just want to like make a Jedi character just to like fill each of like those like plot holes. I'm not even kidding. Like there's stories ripe for the taking.
Oh, yeah.
So much could like be happening.
That
That
is your bread and
that is
butter. Yeah,
that is a
just-
big reason for it. I mean, like that is one of my. I love the Jedi for that because you could so easily just put a Jedi into any scene, at least the prequel era and the immediate post Order 66 era, and like figure out how they can make a situation different or have something develop. And they might not even like have like a direct like impact on the story, but they are there somehow.
Yeah.
no, yeah,
And that's what's so fun about the prequel era is that there's Jedi everywhere.
yeah.
Like
I mean,
we were
that's
talking
what
about the
I was
originals
gonna
and
say.
yeah, they're so scarce and
Attack of the Clones.
yeah.
My favorite moment in Attack of the Clones is the Coliseum filled with Jedi.
Yeah.
No.
Go look
Your
at
favorite
that.
moment is the deleted scene in Attack of the Clones.
Oh,
God.
on the
That
Trade Federation
actually
ship.
is. Oh my god, that is one of the funniest things in human
Like-
existence. If you have an opportunity to watch the Attack of the Clones deleted scenes for the Coliseum, watch those. They're unfriggin' believable. But also, even in the movie, don't look at the Jedi in the background because they're doing absolute nonsense. Nobody gave them any direction. People just kind of gave them a lightsaber, threw them out there, and said, "Do what you want." And it's an absolute mess if you actually look at them. But I love seeing all of the sabers ignite, and I love the fact that we got literally a Colosseum Jedi battle. I mean, that on screen.
Yeah.
How cool is that? I mean, even if you don't like the execution, just the concept itself is enough to get me just ready to watch it again. I love it.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta look past the execution of it. All Jango Fett jokes aside, and you just gotta enjoy the concept of it because
I mean,
like,
that's most of Star
is-
Wars, honestly.
There is so much more going on, and so much more that you can like think about, and there's always more stories. There's just always more stories to tell.
That could be. People give Attack of the Clones crap, but I have fun with it, and that is one of the coolest moments in all of Star Wars. Just like as Matt just said, I'm just pretty much repeating what he said. Like hundreds of Jedi showing up, 1,000 Jedi showing up with clone troopers on Geonosis, like that's unbelievable,
That's
and
awesome.
it carries over into Revenge of the Sith.
Well, it's just the Jedi showing up first, and then
Yeah,
they
then the
fight,
clones.
and then
With
the
Yoda.
clones show up. That's another question I have. So, do you think that they all traveled together, or do you think that they traveled separately? Because I know in like the Jedi Starfighter game, there's like a lot of information like about
The
they have
escort.
to clear the space
about to tell you.
beforehand.
That's a blast.
Play
but-
Jedi Starfighter and Clone Wars, and you'll find out.
So, do you think after they got the transmission that Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme were trapped on Geonosis, Yoda was like, I have to go to Kamino myself. Do you think anyone went with him to Kamino, or is he by himself in Kamino talking to the really tall Kaminoans like, oh my god, hey, I gotta like take all these clones
Yeah,
and
right.
activate them
He's
right
sitting
now?
there like
Is
checking
he
his watch, going, "Come on, I know." They're
It
like
must have been just him.
200,000, a million more, all this stuff. And he's just
baffling.
like, "Come on,
I have
we
so
gotta
many
go."
questions. I have so many questions, and all of them are solved by making like 3 characters, and I won't go into detail. But if you want to know, just ask me about it some other
Oh
time.
boy,
How do the Venator class ships leave Kamino?
That's a really good question. Where were the ships
Underwater,
the entire
probably,
time?
right? Underwater hangars, I'm
I
assuming.
mean, I guess on Exegol they
Underwater
leave like the
hangars.
ground breaks. So
Where else are they gonna be? It's Camino.
the structures don't go underwater though. I mean, maybe they do. Do they?
Of course they do. Yeah.
There are so many secrets on Camino. Like that's another
Now it's
question.
blown
Where are
up.
the Venators the entire time? And now it's just blown up. So
Well, we
never
see
gonna
them
know.
doing the marching around, walking
Yeah,
in
we
them
see
for
them
no
in
reason.
whatever underwater base they are. I don't.
It's
I'm
not
just assuming
underwater. It's in the city.
It can't
It's
be
up
that. The
top.
city's not that big.
That's what
The
I thought.
city is a lot bigger than you think it is.
I don't
It's
think
bigger
Hey,
on
the
the
plot
is
inside.
big enough to hold multiple Venator star
The plot
destroyers.
thickens because you know how they were marching. We always make fun of how they're marching around onto the ship like that early.
Yeah.
They knew it was coming. Obi-Wan didn't know, but they knew. They got the call. How about that?
Probably
I think
true.
they were just doing some drills.
Yeah. All right, let's board the ship, everyone, in case we gotta leave quickly with this big green guy or
That's
little
That's a
green
good
guy.
point.
This little green guy.
That's a good point. Why the hell were they loading onto the ships?
Why were they
when
getting
he showed
ready?
up?
But then, like, I love how, just to fast forward as well, like, with, so they join forces, the Jedi and the Republic, working to form this military unit now, and so the Jedi become super militarized, and it's definitely not something that they anticipated, but the main Jedi Council, like, pretty much is like, yeah, this is what we are now, and they, like, don't bat an eye on it, and that really bothers the heck out of me, because it's just, like, you guys spent your entire life trying to, be like representative of like peace and justice within the galaxy, but at the same time fighting a war isn't necessarily something that the Jedi should have been doing at all. And this isn't like the ethics of war here that's in discussion over like should the Clone War have happened. No, but it does give us a lot of really fun content to like sift through, which is what we live for.
Yeah.
Why do the Jedi side so heavily with the Republic? Like,
Well,
the Separatists have a good point about that, and I kind of wish they would dwell on that more.
oh no, we
like-
have separatists.
Uh-oh.
Well,
Uh-oh,
you know,
buddy.
I mean, Matt, we've talked about this. They have a lot of like valid points, like,
The separatists about how corrupt the
Yeah.
Republic Senate is. Absolutely.
and we see in episode 1 we see some of that when Padme goes and she's like, I didn't know there was slavery out here, and you know
well,
she doesn't.
even when she goes and she's like, they're invading my planet, and somebody's like, let's start a committee. And everybody's
Yeah.
like, yeah, committee. And
So
they're like,
it's
all right,
like,
no, but wait in the corner for us to like figure this out. And they're like, no, my planet's being invaded now. We can't.
So why do the Jedi see it, the Separatists, as like?
They're
Why
in
don't they
too
try to
deep.
play both sides? Is what I'm trying
Okay,
to say.
The
think
Jedi
of-
are in too deep with the Republic at this point,
I mean, it's
based
true.
Yeah.
on pretty much like the relationships that are built within the High Republic of the Jedi, working essentially as enforcers for the Senate.
Think of the
they're just in
Republic
too deep.
in High Republic. You know, that's a very different Republic than what happens than what we see in the prequels, where everything is like more corporatist and
That
you
we know, and we know
Yeah.
Lena So, the Chancellor, is
trying to allow the Trade
working with the
Federation
Hutts.
has representation in the Senate.
Yeah.
The Trade Federation is just like a group of traders. It's not a planet.
corpos.
What are you guys doing? Like, yeah, exactly. And obviously that's, you know, not lost on anyone what that's referencing to. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, they're stuck with the Republic now. The Republic stinks now, but they're like, you know, better than everybody breaking off and, you know, starting their own wars against each other and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
because if you allow the Separatists to break off from the Republic, other people are going to start doing that too. I mean, that's why, you know, America outlawed secession. Once a state breaks off, it's like, okay, no, I'm going to break off. It's like,
And then
all
it's
right,
just
if
one
they
big
can do it,
mess.
I can do it. It's like,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you know, the CIS, I don't want to say was justified, but they kind of were if they
In the
weren't being led
films.
by Sith.
In the film, yeah, exactly. But in the films, they're a little more justified than they are in Clone Wars.
Well,
like
Clone
Dooku's
Wars
not
shows
that
us
bad of a
more-
guy.
Well, yeah,
in-
Dooku.
in-
Dooku's
At
a
first.
jerk in Clone Wars.
Clone
He's
Wars,
not
yeah.
a jerk in the movies.
Dooku's also not like, no one really like knows like that Palpatine is pulling the strings except Dooku. So like that's also like that extra like layer of it.
And don't forget, we're not supposed to realize that Darth Tyrannus is Count Dooku until the end of the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of spoiled in like
It's
the
so
marketing and the
Oops.
merchandise stuff. But the original reveal was supposed to be when Sidious says Darth Tyrannus to Count Dooku at the end of the movie. That's when you're supposed to put two and two together. Like, holy crap, Tyrannus was the guy who hired Jango Fett to.
It was Tyrannus all along.
It was Tyrannus all along, exactly. Yeah, but even so, I still don't think it was executed well because clearly Count Dooku is a Sith. And
then he gets executed
and is shooting lightning out of his
by Anakin.
fingers. Come on, guys, catch on.
Yeah.
And then he gets
Anyway.
executed by Anakin. Another poor execution. No, it's
And your
actually
dad
good.
covered your eyes in the theater.
He did, and then
That's
he tried
good.
to do it again when Anakin was burning, and I stopped him. That was my entire childhood.
Speaking of burning, I don't want to bring it up this way, but I will. Spoiler for the ending of Rebels.
We're getting into Rebels.
We're talking about Kanan now.
I'm
We
gonna
can
jump
hop to
ahead
Kanan.
because the next part of the timeline is the post Order 66 era, which involves
Yeah.
Rebels. So I mean, like we
Shout
have
out
this.
to Cal Kestis.
I will
Shout out-
also
I
talk
was just
about
gonna
Cal
say.
Kestis because he's also on my list, my top 5 favorites.
I was just gonna say, like, first we have like Jedi Fallen Order, which we have all this goodness of a kid finding himself after the Jedi Order has fallen, but then
My
like
favorite.
Kanan is straight up the best Jedi, like
Straight
in
up.
all of Star Wars. Like I will stand and die on that hill.
I'll stand
will
and die
stand,
with you.
We will stand
I'll
and
die.
die on top of the Lothal refinery.
Sure.
I'll
just-
stand with Qui-Gon and
I love
Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon to death. But
I
I'll
gotta
be
say-
a ledge below you guys with
Yes.
Qui-Gon.
I gotta say,
the
I got
hill.
a text this week from my friend Sam. She finished watching Rebels for the first time, and I no lie, she was like, "So I finished watching Rebels. I started recording a video, put my phone like on the floor, and I was like, so." Do you ever feel like this, just thinking about Kanan Jarrus? And I just like laid down on the floor and like just started crying.
honest to God,
She
I-
was like, "Yes, I do."
Kanan's spoiler alert, Kanan's death is like one of the few things in TV or movies that makes me actually cry. Like I
Like-
actually cannot help but like burst into tears every time I watch it, no matter what.
It's so well done.
It's
I mean, the
unbelievable.
whole episode, he gets the haircut, and then he,
Oh yeah.
Once he got that haircut, you knew he was dead.
he was gone. He was
No
dead.
way, he's
you're like,
living
that's
past
too
that.
bad.
Well, then he-
You can't live past that.
He saves Hera from the tower or wherever she was, and
Yeah.
there's the whole like they're falling. They were already in love, but there's all the chemistry between them there, and then like the fact he's able to see like one last time as like they're dying. It's like
The Force is like, "I'll give you this one thing."
It
This
really-
one
it's-
thing.
Because he kept his promise.
it's like it's the best done death in all of Star Wars.
I think so.
Yeah.
I honestly agree, 100%. Because it goes back to again, Kanan allowed himself to have romantic love, which
Yeah.
is forbidden by the Jedi for the most part.
And he's
But he
perfectly
didn't let it
fine.
become an attachment.
Yeah,
He was able to let go when the moment needed it, and he saved everybody, except himself. That's when you collect all the studs in Lego Star Wars and you hit true Jedi.
and it's like
That's exactly. As soon as he pushes them away and they all fly away,
we got to make that edit.
you might as well hear that sound of because
Oh
then
my
he
God.
reached true Jedi.
Oh,
Because that's exactly what it is,
Oh man. But
Hmm.
it is though. I mean, like Kanan has like the full like arc though, like as like from being a Jedi.
Right.
And like one thing that like we were not expecting at all, like in like the Bad Batch coming out, was seeing Order 66 like straight up, and it was like his moment for Order 66 as well, which was heart stomping. Not
Depa.
stomping. But it just seeing how it all like went down, and like we know that like he had like the massive distrust of clones anyway, but just knowing that Kanan grows to be a kid who hadn't finished his training, having to
Yeah.
go into hiding, and then unwillingly just like taking on like a force sensitive kid, and then figuring it out with him. That's like the most like Jedi way that you like can do it though, is taking in this kid and being like, all right, this is just my responsibility and I'm gonna figure it out, and he does. And he also pretty much loses it all and fails in every single way by like losing his eyesight and whatever the heck is going on with Ezra. Like half the time he's like always tempted by something, and then pretty much like achieving like that, like in between, like they have like a good like flow with each other, and like they know that like what's going on is working, but then and then of course working with Hera and then being with Hera and then having that love, and then everything just gets ripped away, but it was for a reason, and everyone else lived to fight another day. And I'm sorry, that was like profound at first, and then I just kind of like lost myself in the middle because I was just
I mean,
thinking
I know
about Kanan Jarrus Jedi Knight.
this goes back to this goes back to what you said earlier about learning. You know,
Yeah.
a true Jedi never stops learning, and the fact that we have this guy never reached master, becoming a master to teach somebody else. The fact that Ezra is a pain in the ass, and he still puts up with them, and he still is able to practice patience with Ezra again. And some of my favorite Kanan moments, the moment I always think of when we talk about Kanan, other than him getting blown up, is when he's training Sabine. And he gives her the stick, and he's like trying to work his way through, and he's talking to Hera, and Hera's like, stop giving him the stick, let her train with the saber. And he's like, but she's not force sensitive, and she's like, who cares? You know, it much better put in the episode than mine. But then she lashes out at him, like really lashes out at him about, you're just an awful master, you're awful, you're an awful teacher, I don't know how you're doing this, I don't know how Ezra puts up with you, I don't know how anybody puts up with you. She storms off, she like, really lashes out at him, and he just like meditates on that. Like he just sits there and he's calm and he meditates about it, and when she comes back he apologizes, and he like, she apologizes, they make up, and then he kind of, takes Hera's advice and gives her the saber to train with. It's like, that's the coolest thing, because again, you can tell how mad he is. You can tell how angry he is, but he's not going to let it control him. He's going to sit down, he's going to just practice patience. It's all about patience. I'm not a patient person. I wish I was. And I think that's why I look at the Jedi so fondly, because I wish I were like that. I wish if somebody just yelled at me and told me I was the worst, I wish I could just sit down and say, you know what? Let's talk about this.
I tried to teach you the ways.
Being like, look, buddy, all right, you suck. Like, I don't know.
True Jedi.
Again, it's
True Jedi.
It's collecting all the studs in Lego Star Wars. It's True Jedi.
I mean, there's a lot of similarities between, Kanan, Obi-Wan, and even Qui-Gon, I guess. But that's why they're like the three best.
And Cal.
And
Cal is number 4 for me, because Cal is incredibly empathetic. And that's another thing the Jedi should be. And I think all of the Jedi to a degree are empathetic, but this dude takes it to a whole nother level. I mean, my God, he shows up to Dathomir. He's getting attacked by a Night Sister, and he's just like, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry that happened.
Hands the lightsaber over to her.
Yeah.
I love that.
Like,
gun on the table.
It's, oh my God, it's so good. Like, and just every single thing. I mean, every time he has an opportunity to help somebody, he is always 100% willing to just throw everything aside and say, do you need help? What can I do? That is just, again, that is just the coolest thing. Cal is one of the best Jedi. And I think in terms of just male protagonists in general, I think empathy is something that you don't get from a lot of male protagonists. And for him to have that trait in such spades is just awesome. I love it.
Oh, that's a good point. It's a really good point. Shall we move on to what would be next? The sequels, I guess?
Sequels,
or
unless you want to talk about like Luke in Mando and Book of Boba Fett real quick. Just about this,
we've sort of talked about that recently.
We've talked that to the death in the past couple weeks.
I mean, we have.
If you want to hear us talk about Luke and Grogu, check out our previous couple episodes where we talked about it in Book of Boba Fett.
Go on. Listen to that guy. See, look at this. I can point now.
Now we can point.
That?
You learn the ways.
Oh.
So, the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
The Luke Skywalker has vanished, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So once again, there are
the last of the Jedi.
No Jedi. There's no Jedi.
There's going to be Jedi.
But then we're introduced to Rey.
Well, okay, yeah.
And Finn.
Obviously.
But
I also think eventually they're going to introduce other Jedi that survived or probably left the Order before.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, Grogu is
already
out there. Ahsoka's possibly out there. Cal might be out there. Who knows?
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, like,
Ezra.
I feel. Well, let's stick
Jason,
before we're
Syndulla.
speculating.
Let's focus on
here.
Rey.
Before we're speculating here, the whole point of the sequel trilogy is we get our new generation of Jedi, and that's going to start with Rey, and someone. When we find out at the end, that was pretty much born into the dark side and destined to do that, but then overcame it and chose the path of the light instead. Although we really we don't know how much of each like teaching she's going to like go into and like what she's going to like do. So we don't like we know she has like the sacred like ancient texts, and so she has like the ancient way like of the Jedi, and so it's a total different like thought process and like skill set for like what the prequel Jedi had, what the High Republic Jedi had, and what everyone before may have actually like thought about. And it's just gonna be totally new. And it's funny like looking at the sequel trilogy like this, because like she's learning the entire time, and we really don't know what kind of Jedi she's going to be by the end of it.
Well, it's sort of like Luke too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Luke
I mean,
pretty much
both
becomes
of
a
them,
Jedi in Return of the Jedi. So
yeah, both of them are representatives of the last Jedi, as it were.
yeah.
But don't forget also that Luke annotated all of the sacred Jedi texts. This dude, bold as hell, taking millennia old books and writing in them, just like, oh, I don't know, just gonna fill in some stuff here. Like, what the hell are you doing?
He didn't
Luke?
have a copy machine. So.
But no.
So I think something of note, though, this is kind of like important, though, because Luke went and he annotated all of the sacred texts, the ancient texts, but we know that he utterly failed with his Jedi Temple. And like he took his texts and he hid an Octo, but we don't know how often he was like actually looking at them, if he looked at them at all. So we don't know what kind of thoughts those were. So like, was this like Luke trying to be like a replicant of like the prequel Jedi? We don't know. Or him trying to like do his own thing, or we're not sure.
I think him training Leia is kind of a signal that he's not the old Jedi, because you'd never ever train somebody who's married with a kid on the way. That's a big no-no.
That's your
no matter
sister.
what.
Yeah.
I feel like he
and
didn't
his
know
sister.
Until like literally the moment when like they like stopped training, and she's like, "Hey, I gotta put down my lightsaber because guess what, Luke, I'm pregnant." I'm pretty sure like that's like how she told Luke.
I mean,
That'd be
even
good.
so,
Luke
That's in the
sometimes
extended
is, like,
version.
such a dummy. Like I don't think he would like know that like she was pregnant until.
Yeah. And Leia was married and went on the honeymoon on the Star Cruiser. But anyways,
God,
I think
Leia is the last person who would want to go on a cruise for her vacation.
I
That's a
know.
different
I
story.
bet Han bought the tickets like, Leia will like this.
You know what? That's a good
Okay.
Han Solo right
There
there.
you go. It's very Han Solo to do
But
that, but it's
Jamie brought up a thought I wanted to talk about.
yeah.
When do we think, and we'll probably find out, but when do we think Luke failed with his temple? I
I
know
was just about to say that.
it was a split second. It couldn't have been that split second he ignites the green. Because, that scares the hell out of Ben laying in bed. But something must have happened before. We know Snoke was in Ben's head, but what do you think happened?
I think the novelizations also talk about Snoke having an influence on Luke's temple beforehand. Like Snoke may have been like an ally to Luke at some point, and like guided him, obviously misguided him. But that's a different story, and I don't know how much they're going to touch upon that. That's like a small thing. I think Luke. I'm gonna get religious on you real quick. Sorry about that. Legends and myths, but not really, because this is based in actual history. The Jewish temples, there are two of them. The first temple was built and destroyed, in the BC times. The second temple was built, also the BC times, and destroyed in 70 AD. And the second temple was built by Solomon, who was the son of David. David's whole thing was that he wanted to go on this big crusade. He wanted to rebuild the temple on Temple Mount. It was really important to honor God, but he did too many bad things, and God wouldn't let him build the temple. And so Solomon kind of gets wrapped up in the building of the temple, and everybody involved with the temple becomes so focused on the religion aspect of it that they let it crumble underneath them. They let the whole organization just kind of, the cracks start to form right under their nose, and they don't even notice because they're too busy, focusing on how to honor God without actually practicing correctly. And I think that's kind of what I think that's going to be the fall of the second Jedi Temple too. I think it's Luke is going to be involved in such a way that he's going to get too wrapped up in the religion. He's going to see that as his main kind of his main crux or his main crutch, something that he focused on while Ben fell right under his nose. And of course, the ignition of the saber in the hut was the moment when there was no going back. But, Luke probably, sees his focus on orthodoxy and religion as the main reason the temple failed. That's probably why he feels the way he does in The Last Jedi. He puts all his blame on the Jedi religion and the cycle of violence and everything that he was supposedly upholding while everything was crumbling under his nose. It's the same kind of thing, I think.
Yeah. I mean, that was a long trip down, but I know I get your point totally. And that would make sense because, like, from what we see with Luke and Ben, I know we were supposed to be talking about the sequel trilogy, but I mean, this is a big part of it. Ben Solo and the fall of that.
There aren't that many Jedi in the sequel trilogy.
No, yeah, exactly. But we'll get to Rey in a minute. Like Luke's dragging Ben on all these trips about like all this Jedi lore and stuff. Oh, I know you'll like this, Ben. And they're with old Lor Santeca. I mean, yeah, maybe he gets too wrapped up in all that stuff. It doesn't really focus on his students.
Yeah,
I don't
know. I think that's probably close to it. I mean, that's the way I'm reading things right now.
He's so focused on always looking to the horizon, as Yoda says, and he's not looking right in front of him. So that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now on to Rey. I want to get to a quote that's in Rise of Skywalker, but like Matt or Jamie, is there anything you want to get? I wanted to say like.
Do you want to get to a quote in Rise of Skywalker? The heart of a Jedi lies in her strength.
Well, that's great with Kanan, Jedi Knight. But at first, in Last Jedi, I love Last Jedi, but I always thought Rey was like, they made Rey sort of like a dunce in that. But now that I've watched all the films multiple times, and I rewatched Last Jedi recently, I was like, this is amazing. Like, Daisy Ridley nailed this. I love that she's naive in this.
She's very naive.
And then in Rise of Skywalker, she's so confident, and I think she's so strong in that movie. So it's cool.
Yeah, in Last Jedi, she doesn't know who she wants to be, and she's not sure what she remembers herself, like deep down, like what she believes herself to be, and she's not sure what she wants to be in the future. And so, like, that's why we have multiple different things here. So we have like an outfit that looks like completely different than anything she's had before, because she's like, oh, I don't know, this is gonna be different. Although the real reason the costuming department found out they needed a second outfit like a week before they filmed that last scene, so they just kind of threw something together. But if we want to go deeper
the hero one.
No, the vest. The vest
the
and the
vest.
green pants. And so what she wears the majority of Last Jedi. She's not sure what she wants to be. But then she gets like the more confidence throughout the way during Last Jedi, but still unsure of who she really wants to be. And we have the whole who are your parents? And she says they're nobody because they were to her. That's what she believed, and that's what she always thought. And I still believe that she had no idea what her true parentage was until the events of the Rise of Skywalker.
Of course,
because even at that, they weren't anybody special. But they turned out to be something more. And then even though she's going to Rise of Skywalker, the beginning of the movie, she is more confident, but then she's given the greatest conflict of her life when she realizes the gravity of how serious her bloodline is. And then she just realizes how much more important the bigger picture is for the galaxy, how it's not just about her. And I think that's one of the most important parts about Rey, is she knows that it's not just about her, it's about the broader galaxy, which is a very Jedi thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think Rey is the perfect. I think Rey's arc is the perfect arc to have post Return of the Jedi, where Luke accepts familial attachment in a way that the old Jedi did not. And, Rey's arc is all about her trying to find family. It's about her being stunted by her attachment to her parents and learning to let go of that attachment and grow into, who she's going to be, to find and make her own family. And I mean, that's like I said, that's the perfect arc to have as Luke's last student. Because, I always like to say that shabby hobo Luke is philosopher Luke. The old viewpoint of philosophers, and this is like a serious, like, actual thing, that it was almost like a uniform. If you were a philosopher in ancient Greece or Rome, you dressed in shabby clothes, you had long unkempt shabby hair, you had a beard, you had like the full shabby look to you, because you didn't really, it was almost like a sign of intelligence that you were like too good for hygiene. As weird as that sounds. But the way Luke teaches Rey is so open. He's in this like grand hall in the Jedi Temple. He's sitting down and having an open dialogue with Rey about the Jedi failure and how he failed, and and all of that is very philosophical, as opposed to like dogmatic. Instead of teaching you just the exact points that you need to become a Jedi, he's just going to teach you the philosophy of what a Jedi is. And she uses that at the end of The Rise of Skywalker, or The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker too, but at The Last Jedi, at the end, when she says, lifting rocks, that's when Luke's teachings finally click for her, because she realizes it's not about being able to lift rocks. It's being able to lift rocks and knowing when to lift rocks. People who need you to lift the rocks. That's when you need to lift the rocks. It's what I said earlier when I kind of, I didn't mean to say better, but these people are gifted with special abilities, and to use those abilities for good is kind of the responsibility. Oh, geez, I sound like Uncle Ben now, but I mean, that's what Rey learns in The Last Jedi. That's what Luke teaches her, and I think that's insanely important.
While you were on like the cave scene, the Great Hall on Ahch-To,
I love that scene.
That is my favorite scene, and maybe it's definitely my favorite scene in Last Jedi. It's
Mark
one of my
Hamill
favorite scenes.
Knocks it out of the freaking
Well, he does. And I was watching our friends All New Nerds recent podcast episode on YouTube the other night, and one of them put it perfectly, and I never really thought of it this way, but you have Luke saying like to Rey, like, Rey, did you see the prequels? Like, did you see the prequel Jedi? Did you watch those movies? Like, the Jedi need to end. And Rey's like, Luke, did you see the originals? Like,
yeah,
you were awesome. Like, be this guy. And then he's like, well,
you
I'm a legend.
That.
Yeah, so I love that scene.
I mean, that is, people don't give in my opinion, people don't give the sequels enough credit for that. But God,
They
I
will
mean,
eventually.
The sequel trilogy has a scene. You're absolutely right. I love it. The sequels have a scene where two people are in a room, Luke and his student, and Luke's like, did you see the prequels? And Rey's like, did you see the originals? I mean, that's perfect way to put it. I never thought of that that kind of
credit
way.
to All New
literally
Nerds.
what it
It's
is.
perfect. I don't know if it was Levi, Johnny, or Dylan. It was one of them.
I mean, that's what a sequel is, right? It's examining the previous two entries and finding the messages and merits in them.
And people don't give that scene any credit, because
why?
How cool is it? Luke Skywalker kind of like telling you what happened in the prequels.
I know.
Like, in a couple sentences, but it's awesome.
Even though this is Luke's own internalized, he's projecting his failures on the prequel Jedi more than anything else in that scene. The prequel Jedi were not perfect either. So the idea that the Jedi were not these perfect beings of, good in the prequels is still upheld, even though a lot of what Luke says is just him, I failed because the prequel Jedi failed. It's the same thing, even though Rey kind of points out that, no, it's not. Yoda kind of points that out more than Rey. And I love the fact that, Yoda and Luke, the two grand masters of the Jedi Order, when they fell, have a nice little powwow while
looking at a burning tree.
While looking at the
perfect.
old, I mean, the symbol of the old Jedi just burst into flames in front of them.
Yeah, I mean, and to fast forward into Rise of Skywalker, I mean, I don't know if we were like at the end of it already, but the Rey be with me thing is like so good. It zooms up into the stars, and you have all the Jedi, and scenes before that when Rey's on Ahch-To and talks to Ghost Luke, which is also amazing. Anything with Rey and Luke in any of those two films is just my favorite thing ever. But he says 1,000 generations live in you now, right? Mm-hmm. And then Rey goes there, does the "Be with me" scene, or "Be with me," looks up into the sky, and all the generations are with her, and she says, "I'm all the Jedi." And I don't think people understand that line. They're just like, oh, it's just like a copy of the Endgame. I'm Iron Man, or
Yeah.
they don't get it. It's all there. All our generations are in you. Be with me. They're all with her. She is all the Jedi. I mean, it doesn't. Watch the movie, people. But like, I think that's from episode 1 to 9. If we're talking about the saga, that is such a cool. Whether you wanted the Ghost to be there or not, whatever, it would have been cool. But that is the culmination of all the Jedi in that final thing, taking down Palpatine. Like
the Jedi get to redeem their failures to take down Palpatine in the prequels. A
I
lot of
don't
those
think-
Jedi are prequel Jedi, you know.
I don't think people realize all the Jedi spirits are pretty much powering Rey in that moment, because she was like half dead on the ground. Everything was drained, right?
The way I see it is her drawing power from the cosmic force. And
Okay.
most of the voices she hears are more like echoes, because
Yeah.
you know, very few people are able to retain their consciousness after death in Star Wars. It's becoming a Force ghost is a pretty big deal, and
It's a reminder of through the cosmic force that like,
But,
hey,
yeah.
you got this.
exactly.
We're with you.
No, that's exactly it, and it doesn't take away anything from the scene because those people are still in the cosmic force,
Right.
and the cosmic force is still connecting and speaking to Rey when she's connecting and speaking to it. So, yeah, and Jamie looks
think-
like she has something to say.
I don't have anything to say about this because like
I
I've
just-
already
we
like word vomited my like thoughts about the Jedi, and then you guys go and get like super profound, and I'm just like, I just really like these movies. I don't
I like
I
lightsabers.
don't like to dig into the deeper meaning sometimes. Like sure, like we're here on a podcast like talking about it, but like I'm just content and happy to be here talking about the Jedi.
After Rise of Skywalker, there's been rumors of there might be a project in the pipeline, of course, with Rey and Finn and people post Rise of Skywalker with the Jedi, new Jedi Academy. What do you guys like, Matt? What do you think will happen with that?
What do I think will happen with that, or what do I want to happen with that?
Can I go first?
Both. Yeah, Jamie, go ahead.
Because Jamie
So,
has some thoughts on that.
I
she'd
do
like to
actually
share.
have some thoughts. Well, they're loose thoughts. I think that obviously we're gonna get more information regarding what happens to Ahsoka with whatever happens in her series, and we'll see who actually is still alive at that point in time. I feel like
Yeah.
if there are going to be any last stragglers from the original Jedi Order, they're gonna turn up at some point in that series, if they're gonna turn up at all. And then from there on out, the people that like who should still be alive are in the post-Tross times are Ezra, hopefully. I would assume if he like whatever sequence of events happened in the Ahsoka series, Grogu and Jason Syndulla, and then I don't know,
guy.
and Broom Boy.
Broom Boy.
Boy.
They need to find Tamiri Blag.
Yeah,
They will.
Broom Boy and Finn, obviously, and that's it. Who's like really like who we know to like look for, but I feel like it's really the same number of like force sensitive people like still existed in the galaxy. That's why Order 66 was like so like weird, because like obviously all these people were like wiped out, but like force sensitive people just like appear at not like
there,
immaculate
yeah.
conception appear, but they just like it just like
Separated,
happens. It's like having like muggle born parents. Like you might be
Yeah.
just gifted magic.
Which is the
Um,
point of Broom Boy.
Broom Boy,
Yeah.
he's exactly it. He's like the next generation of Anakins. Literally, I mean, he's a
Yeah.
slave boy who's got the Force and all that. I mean, again,
That's pushing it. He's whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so like I think that there's huge potential for this rebuilding of the Order again, but who knows like what direction like they'll actually go into, or even if they'll focus on rebuilding an Order, because if they want to do something like totally new, then it's just like, all right, here's our adventures of us trying to figure ourselves out first before we try to build an Order.
maybe.
Yeah. 'Cause, I mean, there's no
They-
Sith to really combat with that we know of
No.
yet. I don't know. So
No, and I hope there isn't. I hope the Sith are gone for good. I always like to say that Palpatine wasn't really a Sith in the Rise of Skywalker because his stated goal is to rebuild the Sith. So
right.
they kind of prevent the Sith from returning rather than the Sith
Yeah.
actually still being around. But anyway, what if they become a band of roving warrior monks with no order itself?
There we go. We're back from the original concepts.
We're
Like,
back to
basically,
the
yeah.
original ideas of what people thought the Jedi were in the originals. I mean, that
That's what I would like.
certainly would be interesting.
I would like a not totally new feel for the Jedi, but they kind of got to be rebranded at this point, right? They
Yeah.
keep that's the whole thing. They keep getting the cycle of here we are, here's the order. Oh, we failed. Like
A band of like way seekers, maybe.
Yeah,
all
I
way
like that.
seekers.
way seekers.
Which are in the High Republic, way seekers are people who aren't really tethered to the order. They kind of just follow, quote unquote, the will of the Force. But yeah, I mean, first of all, what I would really like, I don't know if this is going to be controversial or not, but I really don't want Rey to train Finn. I want Finn and Rey to train together.
Yeah.
I don't want her to be his master. I want him and her to kind of be partners.
Okay. No hierarchy.
No hierarchy, no master and apprentice. Right now, I want them to kind of just build each other up, teach each other. I think Finn has a lot to teach Rey, and I think Rey has a lot to teach Finn. I don't think either one could really be labeled as master and apprentice right now, at least. She could sit him down and say, "Look, read these texts," and then start practicing. But that isn't really training him per se. I just would really like for Finn to become a master much faster, so that there are at least two Jedi Masters kind of working off of each other in the post-Tross era, as opposed to just one master and one apprentice, like everything else.
When things pick up with this project or something, eventually one day, Finn already knows a good amount by the time we see him, and maybe him and Rey are pretty much equals.
That's what I would like.
Cool.
I'd like to see that. And to get even more controversial, I would love to see Rey go back and just rebuild Luke's temple. If they're going to do a temple, just rebuild Luke's temple, like the old
Mystery Planet from
Mystery Planet.
Okay, not go to Octo.
No, I think Octo needs to be left
sacred.
alone.
Go on Mystery Planet. So she'll ask
Make it a
Grogu for
museum.
the plans, and Grogu is gonna be like, "Excuse me, I'm gonna go up on that hill and eat all of the frogs first, because Luke didn't let me do that last time."
They go there and they find old man Grogu, or he wouldn't be old, but
No, he'll be
just
like,
eating all the
like
frogs.
teenager Grogu.
Teenager Grogu eating all the frogs.
whatever happens, if this is in post-Tross Project or in Ahsoka or whatever happens is I just want Ezra to call Grogu Baby Yoda, because he would. He is the only person in the galaxy who would be able to say that.
That would be really good.
I would
That's
love
all that I want.
for Ezra to train Jason Syndulla. I think that would be the greatest thing in the world for Jason's father's apprentice to become the master and train his master's son.
Would Hera want him to become a Jedi? I guess why not? But
Becoming a Jedi and learning how to use the Force could be two totally different things.
yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well,
And
a lot
of
could
course,
happen.
down the road, if we're going to do, I always also want them to do almost like an anti-High Republic where they skip ahead 200 years. And Grogu is the Grand Master. Obviously, I want Rey and Finn stories more than anything. But I would love for, in the future, Grogu to be the Grand Master Jedi once, Din is dead and gone, as sad as that is. For him to finally kind of like move past that attachment and then embrace the Jedi-dom after living a time as a Mandalorian. I would love for him to kind of be the next Grand Master and follow kind of like a
I don't think he's gonna become a
temple
Jedi.
under Grogu.
That train has left the building.
For now.
I think he'll become a Jedi, but I don't think he'll be a Grandmaster. I think he's just kind of do his own lone samurai thing eventually whenever Din dies.
Maybe. I think
Matt's
his
here
age,
saying no hierarchy. Okay, Grogu's gonna be Grandmaster.
I'm saying
can't
if
have
they
both
go
ways.
in that temple, that's if they go with the temple concept, which is what I said before.
Okay,
when I
okay.
also said if Rey, if they're going to build a temple, Rey should rebuild Luke's.
I got you.
But if they go in that direction, I would like to see Grogu as a Grandmaster, because that would be cool. See another Yoda guy sitting in his little chair, being a little puppet, teaching people about luminous beings and eating
That would be
frogs.
cool. Okay.
Well,
Alright.
it'd be cool.
This was
Are
a
you
good
kidding?
episode. This was a good Jedi discussion. I'm sure we could have talked for like 3 hours about the
We
Jedi.
could have.
But
This.
I feel like we did.
I feel like we
yeah,
did too.
it was long.
Right. So this has been a discussion about the Jedi on HoloNet Marauders podcast. So we have a video version of our podcast as well. If you're watching, this has been the video version. If you're listening, go check out our YouTube channel. We have a video version of the podcast. Podcast is available on all of the major audio listening platforms. You can find us everywhere on social media at HoloNet Marauders. On Twitter, it is just at HoloNet Marauder. Thank you so much for listening to the HoloNet Marauders podcast.
See you next time.